Now, I'm sure you guys have seen that meme lately. You know that one with Stuart Little and Remy from Ratatouille. It's like who would win in a fight? Yeah, that had me thinking. Who would win in a fight? Like, of all the best fictional rats and mice, which one would really come out on top? So, I made a little tier list. So here's the top 21 fictional rodents who would win in a fight. We're gonna start it off real simple. The beach rat from Cat Dog. Now, I don't know if you guys remember the beach rat. I hardly remember it, but it was just a normal rat, really. Mm, so that's why he's at the very bottom. And then above him, Pip from Barnyard. He was really annoying. I don't like him. Like, he was a decent friend, but he was an awful person. Up next, the rat from Charlotte's Web. Now, this rat doesn't even have its own name, I don't think. I looked it up. It doesn't have its own name. It's just a rat. It's a plot device, more or less. Up next, we've got Nibbles from Tom and Jerry. Now, this rat, he's fairly more formidable than those others, just because of how much he can eat. We've seen him gobble up all those cheese pieces, those little pieces of cheese. You know, he's pretty much unstoppable. Next, it's the mouse from Garfield. Now, that mouse, he's pretty lazy, I'm gonna be honest with you. The only reason he even lives in the house is because Garfield doesn't feel like eating him, because of how lazy Garfield is. Now, above that is the mouse from Aristocrats. Now, I don't know if you remember Aristocats. It was a decent movie. And there was a mouse in there. And he goes just above the mouse from Garfield because he's just not that lazy. Next, the Bagel Rat from We Bare Bears. Now, the Bagel Rat and We Bare Bears, he makes a whole mess. It's a whole episode. It's a whole adventure, all because of that one rat. Although he still has the brains of a rat, really. Like he's very annoying to deal with, but he's a rat nonetheless. Next, the one and only Stuart Little. Now, he drives around in his little car. He's basically a person that's the size of a rat. It's like Thumbelina, but with a tail and a nice little red car. Like, that's cute and all, but that means that his limbs are weak from driving around all the time. He doesn't have to run these streets. He doesn't know what it's like out there. He forgot where he came from. Now, next is the mouse from the game Mousetrap. Now, it's a board game. I don't know if you've played this game. I haven't played this game, but I do know that it's a turn-based game, which means that even though it can escape any mousetrap, it has to do it in a set amount of time. You know, it can't just instantly escape. There are rules to these things. And above that mouse is Roddy St. James from Flushed Away. Now, I don't know if you remember Flushed Away. It starred the guy that played Wolverine. What's his name? Hugh Jackman? Yeah. You know, and that was a really good movie. I like that movie a lot. But honestly, that guy, he's very smart. He's very capable. But compared to all the other mice in that movie, he was absolutely awful at mouse things. Next, it's Jerry from Tom and Jerry. Now, Jerry, he's not that powerful, but he's very smart. He's evaded Tom for 50 something years now. It was on site between those two. He's managed to outsmart Tom every single time, even saving that little duck and Nibbles from Tom's grasp all the time. That's why he belongs here. Now, above him is Remy from Ratatouille. Now, he's a rat. We know that, but he's always been a rat. He was in that ceiling, the ceiling of the woman's house in the beginning. and he's a genius compared to all these other rats and mice. Alright? Now, the only reason that he's not higher is because he's still the size of a rat, which has its limitations, He couldn't cook, not in front of all those people. That's why he had to get inside the guy's hat, Linguini's hat. Now, above him is Fitz from 12-Ounce Mouse. Now, I haven't seen this show at all because it just looks visually so unique, it's its own thing. It's very clearly its own thing. But I do know that 12 ounces is a lot larger than the average mouse. Now, assuming that Fitz from 12-Ounce Mouse is the 12-Ounce Mouse, he is simply so large that he'd automatically defeat any competition that isn't like an absolute genius. Now, above him is Geronimo Stilton. Now, you might not have read Geronimo Stilton's books. They're by a guy named Geronimo Stilton. But they are amazing, and I'd suggest that you read all... How many are there? Like 100, right? There probably are 100. I wouldn't be surprised. How many books are there to Geronimo Stilton? I'm going to look this up right now. Let's see now. Books by Geronimo Stilton. Oh, only 78 main line books. However, there's also 7 others, and then 15, 13, 8, 11, a whole lot, a lot of books, okay? This guy is featured in a lot of books, or he cameos in a lot of books. A lot of various books about mice, and then he records his adventures, He's the writer for the Rodents Gazette, so who would you expect to record his adventures other than himself? Now, the thing about him is, in every book, he ends up running away from the enemy because he's just that much of a coward. But he still has human level intelligence, which makes him superior to all of these other rats. The only one who I think previously that I've mentioned that could even match his intelligence is maybe Roddy St. James or Pip from Barnyard. But Pip from Barnyard has no fighting skill whatsoever. And Roddy St. James, he's not that fast compared to Geronimo Stilton. Geronimo Stilton, every book, he's running from whatever he has to deal with. He has 70-something books. You gotta work up quite a stamina. You've gotta have quite a lot of stamina, Now, above him is the Great Mouse Detective. Now, the Great Mouse Detective, he is incredibly smart, being a detective and all. Easily smarter than Geronimo Stilton, simply because of their jobs. If they were working the same job, I'd say that they'd have the same amount of intelligence. But the Great Mouse Detective, he spends his time thinking for a living, And if he's able to make a living like that, good for him. Now, above him is Despero from The Tale of Despero. You remember that one. It's the one with the mouse with the really big ears, And he uses his ears to glide around. And he also was a knight, And because of his fighting skill, his self-taught fighting skill, he is easily able to defeat any of these other mice. Now, above him is the Mouse King from the Nutcracker. Now, the only reason that he is above Despero is simply because he has better skill in terms of fighting, He was royally trained by, I assume, some sort of royal mouse sword fighter knight or something, And the only thing that I think could beat him in a fight, the only fictional rodent I could see beating him in a fight, is Jerry's cousin from Tom and Jerry. Now, you guys remember Jerry's cousin. They have like that black and yellow striped outfit, and they're not taking anything from anybody. They beat Tom up, even though they are literally just a mouse, and Tom is a whole cat. And they were unstoppable. Now, above Jerry's cousin, we have the Rat King from the Penguins of Madagascar. Now, the reason the Rat King is so high is because he is absolutely jacked, okay? This king, he looks like if Bane were a mouse. He is unstoppable. Now, he was pretty much never defeated, I think. Or if he was, it was a very close match between him and Skipper from the Penguins of Madagascar. With the help of the other penguins, of course. No one can take the Rat King on alone. Except, of course, our next entrant, Speedy Gonzalez from Looney Tunes. Now, Speedy Gonzalez, he's fast. Everyone knows he's fast. He's the fastest mouse in the world. It's like fighting the Rat King would be light work for him. It would be like putting Luke Cage against the Flash. Alright? Now, I love Luke Cage, but he's not beating the Flash. And just like how much I love the Rat King, there is no way he's beating Speedy Gonzalez. Alright? That man will run circles around this Rat King man. And finally, the one at the top, the tippy top of this list, the absolute Chad of all fictional rodents. You probably knew that this was coming, but it's Master Splinter. Now, some of you might say, he's in a bit of a different weight class than all these other mice and rats. But this is Master Splinter before he became a giant rat person. This is back when he was a normal rat. He knew the martial arts before he got turned into a giant rat. He didn't just get turned into a giant rat and learn martial arts through, like, memory or anything. That would be insane. You don't become a master over one day. Alright, he was clearly training in his cage for years at a time before he became a giant rat and eventually adopted the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and made them what they are today. So that's my definitive list of the top 21 rodents in fiction. If you disagree with the placements, just tell me about it. We can argue about this. We can have a general, like, civil discussion, or we can't, and I can just, like, cry while you yell at me. That'd be fun too. That's all for now. Stay weird. Have a good one. And always check your food for rat limbs when you're in a restaurant.